I am Slick Nick, your personal keto bro, and I love being in the process of learning things. You know, that's what makes a good Marvel movie, that we see that character have an arc. They start out the movie thinking this way, and by the end they've changed to some degree. Whereas typically with your DC movies like Superman, he's pretty much always the same person from beginning to end. But we can see Thor change, we can see Captain America change, we can see Hulk change, we can see them change how they perceive the world from the beginning until the end. So that's part of why I like making these videos about my keto journey that I've been on since Thanksgiving 2020, I guess we could say. So I want to read a comment here. The video I made was called "What Are Empty Calories? Carbs." And so we had I've got a new viewer here. The screen name is RKO1988. And his response to my video was, quote, "Really? I guess they provide zero nutritional value. Rice, apple, bananas, strawberries, idiot." And then an emoji of like laughing till you cry. So what I want to do is I want to address that, because I think there's a good point in that. And I think that I could probably communicate what I'm trying to say better by making this follow-up video and just having a different title for the video. So if I could go back in time and rename that video, here's what I would name it, and what I'm going to name this video. I'm writing it down on my notes here. It says, "Are carbs empty calories, or are empty calories carbs?" I think that's really the question we have to look at. So going back to the comment, I mean, I will agree. Would we say this is true, that rice is unhealthy, that apples are unhealthy, that bananas are unhealthy, that strawberries are unhealthy? Would I ever say that? Absolutely not. I think those are all healthy and people should eat them. Now, personally, I don't. Strawberries I will eat, but it's because they have a higher number of fiber in them, which cancels out a lot of the carbs, which doesn't spike the insulin. That's the whole concept of net carbs. So it's not to say that they're unhealthy, that they don't have nutrition. So, and that's what's interesting as you communicate with people. You'll find that if someone doesn't agree with you, that they'll deflect the conversation and take it in a different direction. Okay? So what was I saying? Let's track this conversation. I think this is fun to do this sort of stuff, to really look at the community, because I'm a good communicator. I can rewind and see, where did this deviate? Okay, so the conversation started with me talking about what are empty calories, right? So let me go back to that one more time and we'll look at this again. So what are empty calories? The carbs. So I was saying originally that what are empty calories? They're carbs. He's changed the conversation to saying that there's zero nutritional value in rice, apples, bananas, and strawberries. So I never said that. I never said that they weren't nutritious. But what I did say is empty calories. So following up on that, at this point, maybe I should ask the question, are carbs empty calories, or are empty calories carbs? So let's look at that question, which is really the better question. Okay, so there's three macros. There's protein, there's fat, and there's carbs. And you get to measure out your day with your calories, how much to have of each of those macros. If you're vegan or vegetarian, you're gonna have virtually very little protein. If you're keto, you're gonna have virtually little carbs. And if you're on a low-fat diet, you're gonna have virtually low fat. But you can decide how you wanna work all that out. So ultimately, when we look at carbs, we're looking at how much nutrition am I getting from this as compared to 200 calories somewhere else. So 200 calories worth of eggs versus 200 calories worth of banana. Not saying that bananas aren't healthy, but what I am saying is the eggs would have fat and protein specifically, which the human body is mainly fat and protein anyway. We're about 1% carbs. So I do need carbs and I do eat carbs, but I make them the least of my priorities. It's not that they're unhealthy and it's not that they're not nutritious. But ultimately, what I had intended to do in the original video was to really make it obvious. Out of the three macros, protein, fat, and carbs, by default, which one is the emptiest macro? Maybe that's a better way of saying it. What's the emptiest macro? I'd say by default it's carbs. Because when people talk about empty calories, there's always carbs in there. Fat and protein It may be part of the equation, but it's really the carbs that's the empty calories. So potato chips, virtually no protein. They're going to ultimately make you hungry and want you having more. So potato chips are known as empty carbs. Candy in general tends to. Well, what about a Snicker bar? Okay, yeah, there's fat and protein in that, but still the amount of calories it takes for you in that Snickers bar to get that protein and fat, had you not had all the sugar in there, you could have got that much easier. You could have done like I do. I have an ounce of mixed nuts every day. So I get that. I have unsweetened cocoa in my coffee. I have certain ingredients, but not the sugar. So that's ultimately what we're looking at. If we're looking at the 3 macros, which of those is the emptiest by default? Which of those do you always really need to get empty calories? The carbs. The carbs are what makes it empty, not the fat, not the protein. We truly need those much more so in our diet. Otherwise, you're not going to stay full on carb-loaded type of meals. And even if you could, you'd be consuming so many calories just to stay full, it's not efficient. And that goes back to why they are empty calories. What are your thoughts? Where do they belong? Right here.